Hi, I'm Steffany Strange. Want to hear something scary?
Hello there! As we venture forward, we wanted to offer you a dose of nostalgia from Something Scary for the next upcoming weeks. For those of you who have been following us for a while, you might recall these compilations we used to put together. Well, we decided to bring them back. We hope you enjoy these scary compilations.
The onslaught of phone notifications woke Ari up around 3 in the morning. Wondering why their phone was buzzing, Ari blinked at the alerts from the app where they'd uploaded themselves doing the latest dance challenge. The clip was going viral, much to Ari's surprise. Why is my video getting so many shares? Ari wondered, opening the app to see what people were saying. The video played automatically, and Ari laughed looking at themselves. Oof, I am awkward, they thought. Are people making fun of me? The most liked comment read, 13 seconds had me dead. And other comments had skull reactions and ghost emojis after words like, creepy, when you see it. Weirded out, Ari replayed the video and stopped at 13 seconds. They were crouched down by the stairs, stuck in a pose just before jumping into the air. Staring hard at the surroundings around themselves, Ari's vision landed on something strange. On the stairs was a small face, peeking out from between the bars. Zooming in, they saw what looked like a ghostly boy watching them with a round face and bowl cut, just sitting there. When the video resumed, Ari jumped and the boy's face on the staircase was gone. Ari was home alone. Immediately, Ari put the phone on the bedside table and turned on the bedroom lights. Opening the door, they flipped the hall lights on too. The stairs creaked. It's only the house shifting, Ari said out loud. But just to be sure they were alone, Ari stepped over to the top of the stairs and looked down. Below them, outside the cone of light spilling from above, was darkness. Out of that dark, the boy appeared, crab crawling up the stairs towards Ari. With a scream, Ari ran back to their room. Ari got back in bed and hid under the blanket. They took a deep breath, questioning what they saw. There was a succession of knocks on the door. A gasp caught in Ari's throat and their phone buzzed twice. Reaching out to grab it, they saw a small hand swipe it with a giggle. Ari hid under the blanket as the shadows of the small boy ran around the room. The light switch was then flicked off. Engulfed in darkness and without a phone, Ari was terrified. What did this ghost kid want? Paralyzed with fear, a chill took over the room. A weight shifted onto the mattress. The light of Ari's phone glowed through the blanket, getting closer and closer. Throwing the blanket away, Ari jumped off the bed and ran to the light switch. When the room was illuminated, something fell against their feet. It was Ari's phone. Looking at the screen, Ari noticed it was on the app, recording on selfie mode. And that's when the little boy appeared behind them, hovering over their shoulder. It stretched its jaw in a hollow moan, making Ari shriek and run from the room, a haunting laughter behind them as they ran downstairs. When Ari looked at their phone, the option to upload popped on the screen. Replaying the recorded scare over and over, Ari looked to the stairs and the ghost sat looking on. It dawned on Ari that the ghost boy must have seen that it was noticed in the first video. Noticed for the first time and no longer alone. Is it that you want them to see you? Ari hesitantly asked the ghost boy. The ghost boy nodded, clapping, eager to go again. It was ready to scare more people into watching them both. Ari hit upload. We can do another one tomorrow. Heart still racing, Ari wondered just what the spirit might do if it wasn't appeased. What if the next video didn't get as much attention or go viral like the first? Will the ghost boy turn on them?
Yes, more,
the spirit ordered as its jaw unhinged in a big ghastly smile. The next night, there was a knock on Ari's door. Ari knocked back and the door opened. It was time for the next video.
I used to think my family hated me. Maybe hate is a strong word, but I definitely did not feel particularly well liked. I was my parents' least favorite compared to my 2 younger sisters. They just never seemed to want to be around me or talk to me. They wouldn't even let me take care of our hamster, Lulu. I thought I was being paranoid, but my parents' cold demeanor became more apparent when we moved into a new house. They gave me the room at the very end of a hallway, secluded and removed from everything else. They claimed it was so I could have privacy, but I think they just wanted me far away. That room gave me the creeps. I remember the first night there, I woke up and heard hushed voices echoing in the walls of my room. I couldn't make out everything they were saying, except for my name, the many times it came up. The next morning, I told my mom about the voices and that I thought the house might be haunted. You must have heard the pipes or something, she said dismissively, but I know what I heard. I also knew arguing with her wasn't going to go anywhere, so I decided to suck it up. I went to bed with such anxiety that night that I had an incredibly lucid and horrifying nightmare. I was strapped down to my bed, surrounded by dark figures who were chanting over and over, and I couldn't move or scream. I just laid there while these figures sprinkled me with unknown substances. The next morning at breakfast, I silently ate while my parents asked my sisters how school was going. Then Jamie, one of my sisters, turned to me. "Are you still hearing things at night, sissy?" she asked. I was actually a little startled by the sudden attention on me. Yeah, and I actually had a pretty bad dream last night. Felt like there were people in my room or something. My sister then turned to look at my parents. I felt like they were telepathically talking about me right in front of me. Then Jamie spoke again. "Mom, you should give her that stuff to make her sleep better." My mom nodded. I was still taken aback by this sudden interest in helping me sleep better. So before bed that night, I swallowed the pill that my mom gave me. As an extra precaution, I gathered as many religious items from around the house, crucifixes, paintings, as many as my hands could carry, and put them in my room. I thought they would protect me from whatever was haunting me during my sleep. The following morning, I woke up in a panic. Everything I had put up the night before was now on the ground, shattered in pieces. I knew my parents were not going to be happy, but I also felt like this was proof that there was something in my room. So I ran to tell my parents. "There must have been an earthquake during the night, I guess," my mom said. But nothing else in the house was broken, only the religious items in my room. It didn't add up. I spent that whole day crying in my room. Before bedtime, Jamie came in with her hands cupped in a ball. She hopped on my bed and opened her hands. "Here, maybe Lulu will help you sleep tonight," she said. I glanced out the door and back at my sister. Is Mom okay with that? She doesn't have to know. I thanked my sister and lay down to bed, snuggling Lulu in my hands. When I woke up the next morning, Lulu had moved. I felt around my pillows and blankets, but I couldn't find her. I realized it was an idiotic idea to fall asleep like that with a tiny animal. I figured she must have run out of my room under the door in the middle of the night, so I went looking for her. The rest of my family was already up and in the middle of breakfast. I couldn't let them know I had lost Lulu, so I decided to continue my search after I had a couple bites. But after swallowing one spoonful of cereal, I spit it out onto the table. I suddenly felt incredibly nauseous. I began dry heaving over the table until I coughed up a small clump of brown fur. My family immediately stood up and began praying the Lord's Prayer. I felt dizzy and blacked out. When I came to, I was strapped on my bed with my family standing around me, sprinkling unknown substances all over me. "What are you doing? Why do you hate me?" I cried, frantically trying to release myself. The expressions of each of my family members turned to sadness. "We don't hate you, Desiree," my dad said. "We hate who you become at night." I don't understand. "You've tried to kill each and every one of us in your sleep," my dad continued. "Multiple times. We're trying to help you, sissy, Jamie chimed in. But nothing seems to be working. I didn't know what to think. This whole time, I thought that I was being traumatized by a demon in my room, and I was the demon. My family didn't hate me. They're just afraid of me. And I think I am too.
In the early 1900s, the seaside town of Japan was a well-known hub for world travelers. Visitors could find all types of strange and unusual goods in the marketplace. And that is where this particular nightmare began. 17-year-old Ekichi Suzuki was determined to find the perfect Christmas present for his baby sister. Just minutes before his boat was to take him to Hiroshima, he saw it. The most beautiful porcelain doll he ever laid eyes on. In a glass case, standing 20 inches tall, she had shoulder-length hair that was done up in a traditional okappa style. Her piercing black eyes drew him in. With seconds to spare, the exchange was made and the proud big brother was on his way home with the perfect present. On Christmas Day, Ekichi presented the gift to his 2-year-old sister, Okiku. She was immediately infatuated. It wasn't long before Okiku dismissed all other toys in favor of her doll. She even named the doll Okiku after herself. When her brother asked her why she gave the doll her own name, she replied, "Because I am her, and she is me." The two Okikus began to look alike. Their hairstyles and outfits often matched. People would find Okiku speaking to the doll as if the doll was speaking right back to her. But as Okiku got older, her interest began to change. She began to forget her doll. Not all the time, but just often enough that strange things began to happen. There was this one time Okiku went to a friend's house and left her doll at home. When she returned to her house, her bedroom had been ransacked. Another time, Okiku forgot to bring her doll to a sleepover. When she fell asleep, Okiku had terrible nightmares that a doll was following her with a torch. The next morning, Okiku returned home to find a small fire had occurred in her bedroom. Okiku stayed clear of the doll. It wasn't long after that Okiku became sick, contracting what appeared to be yellow fever, a debilitating disease that infected so many people at that time. Luckily, Okiku's doll was right by her side. Being bedbound due to the illness, the two became inseparable again. The house staff couldn't even take the doll out of Okiku's hands to change the bedding. The child and the doll were constantly attached to one another. Whispers began swirling among the household that its black eyes were turning the same emerald green as Okiku's. Its cheeks were flushed like a human's, and one of the servants swore the doll had blinked. But Okiku just held on tighter as each day passed. Then one morning, Ekichi stopped by his sister's room. He opened the door to find her in her bed, eyes wide open and eyes black. Her body was ice cold. He tried to resuscitate her, but it was no use. What stood out was how tightly her doll was holding on to her. It made him feel uneasy, but grateful Okiku didn't die alone. The family was determined to bury the doll with Okiku, but circumstances and governmental oversight prevented this last act of kindness. They needed to find another place for it. The doll sat on the family's altar so they could pay tribute to her. Weeks went by, and they noticed the doll's hair looked like it was growing. Eventually, the doll's hair reached its waist. Then, other strange things began to happen. The lights would flicker, doors slammed, and the doll would randomly move about the house without anyone's aid. At first, this gave them comfort. They believed it was Okiku paying a spiritual visit. But then everyone began having nightmares. The morning after another sleepless night, Okiku's mom took a tumble down the stairs. She survived, but swore she had been pushed by the doll. Now, if she actually was, or if she just blamed the doll for her lack of sleep, it no longer mattered. Either way, the doll needed to go. XXXI tried to burn the doll at his mother's request, but its resemblance to his sister was too strong. He couldn't harm her. Instead, he went to the shamans. They agreed to take the doll and observe it. There was no denying her hair grew and grew. After trimming it, they sent a lock of the doll's hair to be tested. The results were shocking. The doll was growing human hair. But when XXXI returned to the shaman, Okiku had vanished. A year later, the seaside town of Sapporo had not seemed to change much. It was still packed with people collecting souvenirs and trinkets, hoping to take a little piece of Japan on their journey. And tucked away in the back of a shop, inside a glass case, stood a beautiful doll. 20 inches tall, with raven black hair. The bell to the door rang, and in walked a father with his young daughter. It only took a moment before her eyes met with the doll, and an exchange was made. Soon, the child was traveling back home with a new companion. She swore the doll had smiled. Her father was pleased because his usually reserved daughter had a new playmate. Thanks so much for listening. Like and share if this video gave you the chills. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the bell for notifications. See you next time.